Hi, this short video is about assessment. That's a term you're going to hear more and more often while you're here at John Carroll. What it basically means is we're trying to figure out if you're learning what we think you should be learning. So we have some learning goals for the universities, we have some learning outcomes that we expect you to master, and then we're trying to assess whether or not you're actually achieving those learning outcomes. If you're not, then it means that either you're not learning effectively or we're not teaching effectively. And so we're going to try to look at assessment from three different perspectives to try to generate as much data as we can in a process we call triangulation, to look to see what we can do to make it so that everybody's more effective in learning the principles of public speaking and what's ultimately most important for this class. With that said, the first way that you're going to be assessed is through your actual speeches, the argumentative speech, the informative speech, and the persuasive speech. And for each of those assignments, you will find that there are specific learning outcomes. If you go to the informative speech, you'll find a description of the speech, and down below that you'll find a rubric. Your instructor is going to fill out this rubric in Canvas, and what they're going to do is evaluate you in terms of your ability to identify a topic in a thesis. Is the topic appropriate for the audience? Is your thesis clear and articulate? Support, how well do you provide evidence to defend your position? Organization, how well is the speech organized to maximize its effectiveness? Delivery, how well do you speak? Do you articulate? Do you use gestures? Language, is your language choice appropriate? Is it at the exact level that we need it to be in order to affect a change in the audience? Visual aids, how well do you use visual aids? How well are your visual aids designed? Do they actually help the audience understand what it is you're trying to convey? And then answering questions. Do you professionally stand up here and answer questions competently, professionally? Most of these items stay the same through all the speeches. Topic and thesis, support, organization, delivery, and language. Those five components never change. How much they're weighted changes from speech to speech, but how we evaluate them doesn't. These others, visual aids, are required in some speeches and not in others. There's a technology component in some speeches but not in others, and the Q&As in some speeches but not in others. Those areas change. If you want a more detailed description of each, you can click the View Longer Description, and we'll provide more detail for what it is that we're looking for on each individual element. Canvas then creates a database for us. It'll go through every section of CO 125 and compile the information on topic and thesis for every student in the course. Not just for this class, but for every section that we're teaching, and generate that information. So we as a assessment team get very good information as to how the instructors, at the time the speeches were presented, viewed the quality of those speeches. A second thing that we do is we record the speeches, and this is particularly true of the persuasive speech. Every persuasive speech delivered is recorded, they're all saved, and then a random selection of those speeches is distributed to our assessment team. And 5 of us sit down and examine approximately 50 speeches a year to figure out exactly how well we perceive these speeches to be operating. Our scales are a little bit different than those that are being used in the class. We do look at ethics as well, through a notion of a good person speaking well. But otherwise, we're looking at the very same concepts and trying to evaluate whether we think your performance is unsatisfactory, satisfactory, or excellent. That data is not done by individual name. The folks assessing don't know who you are, but they are looking at your speech or the videotape of your speech and making an individualized assessment as to how well they think that operated. The third form of data that we get is we give a survey, and I will show you that survey here. And this survey asks the exact same questions that our assessment team is looking at, but it asks the faculty at the end of the year. So we ask them to reflect back upon the semester and choosing and narrowing topics appropriately for the audience and the occasion. Do they think that the class as a whole was very poor? They made expectations, they were excellent. What exactly did they think? And so we get 3 different levels of data, and we can begin to compare. We can find out if our assessment team and our individual instructors are seeing things the same way. We can find out if all of our students are being excellent or if they're meeting expectations. We can find out what areas we are very strong in, what areas need work, and that helps us reflect on ways to improve our teaching to make the course more successful the next time. The final thing I'm going to tell you, and this is very important for you to remember, Meeting expectations is the standard, but it's the standard for passing, not for much more than that. So in other words, if you're meeting expectations, you're earning about 70%. You want to be better than expectations wherever you can. So if we say, for example, the expectation is that you're going to have at least 3 resources, you might want to shoot for 4 or 5 to impress your instructor and bump that score. Hope this makes sense. It's how the assessment projects get worked. And again, the primary means of assessment are going to be the argumentative speech, the informative speech, and especially the persuasive speech, because that's the speech that gets independently assessed by the assessment team for the department as well. Thanks.